So welcome back to another episode of Track Out Tuesday. In this particular video, which is on a Wednesday, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use plugins in GarageBand, the technical basic side of things, not so much the creative side. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Let's get into it. So what is up, everybody? I am Legend. As you already know, this is the next episode of Track Out Tuesday. So today I'm going to be kind of going over just basic tips on how to use plugins in GarageBand. A lot of frequently asked questions that I have been asked over the last couple of months, and some information that I know a lot of people want to know about. So I have the song in here. This is Blackberry Sweet, the song that I recently released on my channel, talking about the protests and everything that's going on with the Black Lives Matters movement and everything going on in the United States right now. First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for supporting this song, for giving it the attention. Here we are in GarageBand, and as you may or may not already know, the plugins option. So when you're in GarageBand and when you want to add a plugin, this is obviously the first step. You want to come in here. So let's say you're clicked on this little scissor icon. The top left corner is going to be your smart controls for whatever track you're selected on. So we selected the desired track that we want to mess around with the plugins on. So that's this one right here. It's highlighted, and then we'll click this little knob button top left that's next to the scissors. Then if you look down here, the bottom has changed. So when we switch, it changes to this menu right here, which shows all of the parameters of whatever plugins we have applied to this particular track. Now we have a few different options here. We have the track level, we have the master, which is the entire song itself, I believe, but I'm always on track. I never mess with master. I'm always on track. So we have a few different features here: the record settings, the record level, the input. This is where your audio interface is and all this stuff. But if you scroll down, obviously you'll get to your plugins section. Now here is the thing about GarageBand. When you import a new track, so let's pretend I'm putting a new track into this. It's going to be audio. We put the input 1. It's the Evo 4. We click create. So this is our brand new track if we're recording a brand new song. What happens is, you see how this is 1, 2, 3, 4. You only get 4 plugins. And when I first saw this, when I first started using plugins heavily in GarageBand, I worried that it was limited to only 4 plugins in GarageBand. That is actually not the case. What you have to do is you have to kind of work your way around the way that Apple has designed this program. This is our plugin list right here, and let's say we want to add our plugin. So you basically would just click these arrows here. So you can click the arrow, or you can just click the box itself, and that brings up this whole list of plugins sorted by the type and all these different parameters and things like that. So we'll just add, I don't know, vocal writer here. So we'll pretend that this is our vocal chain here. And so great, we have 4 plugins. But what if I want to add more? What if I want to add a delay, add some effects, add some distortions and things like that? How do I get this to look like this, where it has, you know, I think this is about 12 plugins? You would come here, you hover in between to where it shows a little blue bar, right? That means you're going to add a plugin in between those spaces. If I do it right here, it's going to add it to the top of the list. You just click and it will immediately show up all the different results. If I click here, it'll do the same thing. Click here and all this stuff. So your vocal chain order, like the order that the plugins are in, is very, very important for particular plugins like reverbs, delays, and things like that, because if you put something before something else, it might adversely affect your vocals or positively affect your vocals depending on where you put it. So that's one thing you want to study and look into, one thing I'm even studying myself and still looking into and learning about. But just know that if you want to input a plugin before, let's say, in some cases, okay, let's pretend this vocal writer is a reverb, right? And then let's say I have after that Waves Tune, which is an auto-tuning plugin. In this case, what's going to happen is with Waves Tune, it's going to tune the echoes as well as the echoes of the reverb, as well as the vocals itself. So you see here, I have Waves Tune first, and then I have my reverbs and stuff at the bottom. In this case, when the reverb is before the auto-tune, the reverb is going to hit the auto-tune next. So all of the echoes are going to be auto-tuned as well. And that I have found to throw the auto-tune off. And it puts it in all kinds of different parameters and notes that you don't want in there. And it kind of messes with everything. So that's why I tend to always have the auto-tune right here. So let's say I mean, and also this is another thing about GarageBand. You can easily move around the plugins to different orders. So quick note, let's say if I want to put the reverb at the bottom instead of where it is right now, I just click and hold and I drag below, and you'll see I can either put it in between with that blue bar in between, or I can hold it and hover it over something. And when I do that, it's basically going to flip those two plugins. So right now the reverb is right here. The third one, when I click this and hold it and I move it to the noise gate, it's going to flip the noise gate and the reverb. So now the noise gate is where the reverb used to be, and the reverb is where the noise gate used to be. So that's a cool trick to know. But if you want to put it just below the noise gate, you hover in between like that, and you just drop it and let it be. That's one way to navigate these and to reorder them the way that you need to get the sound that you want. And then another way would be to basically just add whatever plugins you need in between. So let's just put the waves tune at the top. We got a compressor, noise gate, and then we have a reverb here. And then after the reverb hits, we want to add the delay. So we'll just add a random echo delay. Generally what I like to do is have those two later on, like my delays, my echoes and things like that. I tend to try and put further down in my vocal chain because I want everything to have those effects on it. I don't want it to be limited to just what happens before those actually, or the vocals actually hits those. So if I want to add something after these, after I've already set these parameters for the echoes and the delays, and I don't want to override them and then add them later, you can just come in between, you click something. Let's say I want to add a distortion that I want to also hit the reverb and delay, and we'll just add a bit crusher distortion. So now we're going to have our noise gate first, our waves tune next, our compressor next, our distortion, and then all four of these are going into the reverb and the echo, all having those effects applied in that order.
I could tell you about some things here. I don't take kindly.
So you hear how I have this pedal board right here that's basically putting that distortion onto these vocals. I use a couple of different guitar distortions like the fuzz here, the chorus, the blue echo, and a couple of different things to get that really grungy feel. Right now it's near the bottom, and it's hitting before the delays and all that stuff hits.
Doing around these parts, man. Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan?
And if I mute it, here's the difference.
Doing around these parts, man. Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan?
All right, now I want to see what it sounds like when I put this, let's say, further down here. So the pedal board is now last, and the reverb and delay and all that stuff is hitting before the pedal board, which is the distortion.
Doing around these parts, man. Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan?
And then before.
What you doing around these parts, man? Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan? What you doing?
So it's got some strength here. Generally what a reverb and a delay do when you turn down the mix of those effects and you don't have the wetness, or you turn the wetness up a little, which is the effect of the reverb and the delay, it diminishes the vocals a little bit because it's not as forward. You know, you don't want it to be so forward that the echo and the delay and the reverb gets drowned out. So when you put the distortion and all this stuff in the pedal board before that, and the delays and all that stuff comes after, the vocal still has room to be powerful enough to be presented. Like you can hear the clear difference. I mean, that's also something you can just play around with. That's something that I play around with because I don't know 100% the way to completely lay these things out. So I just mess around. But yeah, that's one thing you want to think about, the reordering of your plugins. Here is one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about in today's video, and that is how to save your own plugin presets. So here in GarageBand, there is a feature to save your own vocal patches, your own preset patches to apply to a track. So let's say I have all of these plugins right here. I've added everything in the order that I wanted to add it in. I've auto-tuned everything if I want to have the auto-tune pitched in there as well. My delay is set. Everything is set to how I want it to be for this particular track. This is going to be a lifesaver for GarageBand users because you have to do it one at a time in GarageBand. So the way to work around this is to make your own patches, your own vocal patches and presets. We have this here. So this is my vocal with all my effects on here. So now I want to save this just in case I want to apply this to a future song, or if I want to apply this to the current song on a different track. This is how you would do that. So you have to have this button here, top left. It is called the library button. You have to have that selected. It's going to bring up whatever track you're on. It's going to bring up the menu that that preset comes from, if it is from a preset in that library. You'll see at the bottom left, once you have that library button selected, that it has a button called revert and a button called save. We are focusing on the save button. It's very simple. You just click save, and then you name the vocal patch. So this is going to be called Blackberry patch, and make sure that it saves within, it should automatically navigate you to the section, but the audio music apps, patches, audio, and then it saves with all these user patches here. This is within your music file right here. We click save. Once you come here, let's say I have this vocal track right here and I recorded something. Boom, we'll paste it here.
What you doing around these parts, man? Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan?
So that's how it sounds raw. Now, instead of me having to go through the process of adding every single individual plugin and then tweaking all the knobs of all those plugins and going through the same process over and over and over again, when you have 30 track projects in GarageBand, you just go to your custom created patch that you made, and you can save however many you have space for on your computer. So you click the library button here on the patch, the vocal track that you want to add the patch to. You click user patches, and then here are all the ones that I have saved. I'm going to click Blackberry, click it once. So this is basically telling me, do you want to overwrite that stuff? I can overwrite it. I can save it before I overwrite it. But in this case, I don't really care about this. So I'm just going to click continue. And then what happens is it loads each and every single plugin from this patch that was on this that I saved onto this track right here, including the waves tune. This is if you're like messing with a track that has the same vocals as a previous track. It has the same exact auto tune settings as well. Everything that I've edited, all the notes corrected and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool too. If you're working with something where you're stacking and you want to make sure like you can bring over the same pitch corrections from the previous track. So like if this was a stack and I recorded both of these individually, I can bring over those auto-tuned corrections to the next vocal as well, and not have to re-auto-tune over and over and over again. So we'll go ahead and play that, and here is what happens when we bring over the patch to the newly imported vocal, the freshly recorded vocal from the saved patch preset.
What you doing around these parts, man? Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan?
So that is one way to save your own vocal patches. And then like, let's say if you have a stack, where you have your stacks are EQ'd and mixed and have all these different settings compared to your leads, you can do how I do with some of my songs. So I have my song called Breathe, where I have the Breathe lead vocal, and I will just click that, put that on here for instance. So this is the Breathe lead vocal.
What you doing around these parts, man?
Versus the Breathe background vocals. That's going to be one that I saved that's particularly for my background vocals, and it has a more like spread it out effect, for instance.
What you doing around these parts, man?
So you hear that instant difference, the spreading going on versus the lead is kind of coming more from the middle. So there's a million different ways you can play around with this and have your own settings. You can save background templates, you can save lead templates, you can save distortion templates, you can save extremely compressed templates where you turn up the compression a whole lot. You can have reverb templates that you save yourself. You can have all kinds of different things, depending on your style, and have a template, a preset to go to when you don't want to go and create from scratch. When I'm in the zone and I'm kind of doing myself and I know that I have a preset patch that already has most of the effects I want to use, instead of going in and clicking CLA vocals, Greg Wells, CLA 2A. So this is a lifesaver for me. I know it's going to be a lifesaver for you. I know a lot of people have been asking how to do this. And so I just wanted to make a video that specifically speaks about how to do this. Something to kind of get you guys going, and a little trick that you can use when you're in the studio, when you're in GarageBand, making your stuff. I'm all about making the creative process much easier, because when the creative process is easy, you create better, you create more, and it's more fun. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Thank you guys for watching. As always, leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Leave a like on this video if it truly did help you out. I would appreciate that. It helps my video get in front of a lot more people. Also, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe and turn on the bell notifications and set them to all, so that you'll be notified every single time I upload a brand new video. With that being said, guys, I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and stay legendary.
What you doing around these parts, man? Never seen you here before. What's your lifespan? I could tell you about some things here. I don't take kindly to niggas all in my ear.